Hello, and welcome back to the 2 Cents Podcast. How are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Hanging in there? So this episode, we decided, we know, please don't be mad at us. We know we've talked about doing the 2024 revenue, gross revenue, net revenue, all of that, break down our numbers for last year. But given the circumstances and the disaster going on in Los Angeles and it just did not feel like the right time or place to be talking about how much money we made. Instead, we wanted to talk about ways that you can prepare for natural disasters as a worker and resources that we wanted to share with those who have been affected by the disaster and the fires in Los Angeles, but also, and if you find yourself ever in a similar situation, how you can take care of yourself.
Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys' patience with us constantly putting it off. But at the same time, like she said, this is something that we feel is really important for everybody to know.
Yeah, it just feels icky. So we will be delivering those numbers next week. But first, we do have a word from our new sponsor, Glassdoor. This episode of 2 Cents is brought to you by Glassdoor. So if you didn't know, I was inspired to create salary transparency after finding out that I was underpaid $25,000 as a senior data analyst. One of the sources that I used to find my market rate was Glassdoor, so it's kind of a full circle moment for us to be partnering with them. I shared my experience on Glassdoor of what it was like to find out I was underpaid and 3 tips I recommend for you so that you don't find yourself in a similar situation on Glassdoor on my Work Life Pro profile. I've linked that in the description below, and I hope you'll go ahead and follow me and share your experiences in the workplace so that we can all come together and learn more about how we can earn more, have more equitable workplaces, and generally an overall better work experience. So go ahead and follow me on Glassdoor, and I hope to see you there soon. Back to the episode. I wanted to start off by we talk about work and we talk about companies and good companies and bad companies, and something that really infuriated me while we were at CES. We're surrounded by these people who are being actively devastated by the
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
Their families are evacuating as we speak. They are calling and checking in on their loved ones. Are you okay? Have you been evacuated yet? While all of that is happening, I see a viral video of an Amazon worker who was forced to deliver packages in the midst of these
Yeah.
fires.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen the video, it's of a news reporter speaking with somebody else who's in the process of evacuating. And right behind the news reporter walks up an Amazon delivery driver with all of the packages in hand, walking right past them.
Yeah, and I struggle with it because I understand that people need supplies, like I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that those are not just, material things that are unnecessary packages being delivered. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that it's supplies that they need, things that are urgent. But something tells me that the majority of those packages are just standard. They have not been paused due to emergency. It just irritates me so much that a company that has the power of Amazon would not institute a policy where only, items that qualify as emergency are to be delivered.
Yeah.
But B, you have these robots, you've got these drones dropping off packages. Why are you still using people? Like maybe the technology's not there yet, but goodness gracious, can you give people a week
Yeah.
to not be
At
in these
least,
dangerous
yeah, at
situations?
least, for that period of time during that, because I mean, the Palisades fires, that's, devastation across the board for a lot of people who live in that area. So you may still be delivering packages, but you may be delivering packages to a house that's no longer there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
these are the things that I don't think that they took into consideration when it came to still allowing people to go out and deliver packages at that point.
Yeah, I read an article about a delivery driver who talked about his experience still having to deliver packages. And he said that Not only did the amount of packages he had to deliver increase as the days went by into the fire, which is just crazy that he was still required to do that, but he was only given an N95 mask for protection, and he wasn't able to complete all his deliveries because of the quality of the air, the closures, just not being able to go. So, yeah, at what risk? Okay, they're forcing you to do it, but what if you don't make it back?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I know a lot of people will say, "Well, if I was in that instance, or if I was in their shoes, like I just wouldn't deliver packages." And that's pretty good to say from the comfiness of your couch.
Mhm.
That's really,
Scrolling TikTok.
yeah, that's really good to say. When you know where your next meal's coming from. You have no idea what this person is going through.
Mhm.
So they may have to deliver these packages in order to meet a quota so that they can get paid, you
Mhm.
know, for that week or whatever.
But that's why I think it's important for us to talk about this because there are protections for workers in California. California has some of the best pro worker policies. It's not perfect. It's not, without its flaws, but they are some of the best compared to other states. And some of those protections actually mean that employers cannot retaliate against employees if they refuse to perform work that violates safety laws or poses a real and apparent danger to their lives. So they can say no if they don't want to go. And if there is retaliation from the employer, they are protected from that. And at the same time, they're dangling higher pay in front of
Yeah.
you and telling you, oh, well, we're going to give you an overtime rate because it's more dangerous. I don't judge workers for choosing to make what they need to do to support their families, but I do judge the companies
Yeah.
for those
Yeah,
policies.
definitely. Because even if that is the case, I feel as though, the you could definitely do better than just a standard N95 mask.
Right.
You
It's
know, espe
Amazon.
yeah, it's your Amazon. Like, you have
Unbelievable.
more than enough gear in your warehouse to outfit these people with at least a little bit better of a, protection against the
Mhm.
elements that they're facing while they're out there doing the job to continue to make you thrive as a company.
Yeah, because it's real. Anti-worker policies, bad policies like that kill people. It's just mind-blowing to me to see that when just a couple months ago we had Hurricane Helene or Helen,
Helen,
apologize. Yeah, I don't, but
full name.
Helican so in that hurricane though, one of the stories that sticks with me was at a plastics factory, and one of the bad policies in that state in Tennessee is that companies can require their employees not to have phones on them. And this one factory did not allow them to have their phones on them. They were not able to be contacted by their loved ones who were telling them, it's time to come home. Things are
Yeah,
getting too dangerous. And what happened? Several workers lost their lives. And that's a real consequence of bad policies like
yeah.
that. I don't care about your profit. I don't care about your shareholders. I care about people going back home to their families.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, like, that's the biggest part of it. I mean, your companies will come and go, but like people are always around.
Mhm.
Hopefully, people are always around. As long as we do the things that we're supposed to, then that would be the case.
Yeah, if there's so much your family, treat them like it,
Yeah.
right? So I wanted to highlight a couple other policies that apply to all workers, not just those in California. We talked about California's code, labor code, which protects workers. But if you don't live in that state, OSHA, which is, kind of like the overarching
Everybody
protection
pretty
for
much knows
workers.
OSHA.
According to OSHA, employers must protect employees from unreasonable danger in the workplace. So, if there is a natural disaster that is affecting your workplace, that is an overall protection for you. In addition to that, OSHA and the NLRA, the National Labor Relations Act, which we love because it protects workers, gives them the right to talk about their pay. It also gives employees the right to refuse to work in conditions they believe are unsafe. Where it gets really complicated is each state has their own labor code, and sometimes protections, even federal protections, will clash against the state protection. And so, if there are complications that you can think of like that, I
Yeah.
just recommend you speak with a labor lawyer. Most really good labor lawyers offer free
Yeah, they're
consultations.
free, and that's the point of them being a nationally available or federally governed body.
That's the National Labor Relations Board, but
You're right.
private
Yeah.
lawyers as well, like Attorney Ryan, we know there's great lawyers out there that handle these cases that are private, but they won't get paid until you get paid,
Yeah.
but definitely the National Labor Relations Board is that federal
Yeah,
protection.
federal protection, and that's free consultation because it is federally provided for you.
Yeah, and it gets kind of complicated related to pay. I don't want to bore you with all the exempt and all the notes and stuff. So I recommend you read it if you are in a situation where this applies to you. But related to pay and if you lose your job, my heart just goes out to people who their work has literally disappeared. Like there's no boss to blame. There's no
Yeah.
unfair labor practice. Like if your work is gone, if your place of physical work is gone, your job could be gone too, and I
Yeah.
really feel for those people. And so there are, protections in place for you. In the state of California, at least, you can apply for emergency unemployment benefits. Los Angeles's Economic and Workforce Development Department also offers job loss assistance, so you can get free resources, programs, and services. That's all free. They will try to help you find another job. You can also, on the national level, so not just in California, if your job is affected by natural disaster, you can apply for individual disaster assistance with FEMA at disasterassistance.gov. And I will link all of these resources I'm mentioning in the description below.
With the last one though that you just mentioned,
Yeah,
that depends on FEMA listing it as a natural disaster
correct.
or as a disaster.
Yeah, so FEMA has to officially call it a disaster for it to be covered. But if you are a small business owner, the Small Business Administration also has small business support, disaster assistance. So there are a couple organizations, and I'm certain your state would have some as well. That I'm not going to list if you don't have a
Yeah.
natural disaster currently, but just so you know that that would be a good place to go. Any .gov website would have those federal protections for
Yeah.
you.
What I would suggest is that if you are one of those like high natural disaster areas like California or even some places in
Florida,
Florida, a lot of places in the mid
Panhandle.
east, midwest portion of the US who gets a lot of tornadoes and stuff. I'd definitely
Mhm.
say take a look at these because at some point in time you may have to utilize these resources for yourself
Same.
or for a family member.
Okay, so then the other two that I wanted to highlight, I found a really great company called Gray Staffing. They're a small minority women owned staffing firm. And based on a LinkedIn post, they said that they are going to help people who have been affected in their employment to get a job. So I would take them up on that. Also, one of my favorites, I think this is so cool, Guitar Center.
Guitar Center. Yeah.
Especially because it's Los Angeles, I'm like, that's a good move on their part, and really, really, such a kind thing to do. They're helping artists and musicians, get replacement instruments if they've lost their
Yeah,
instruments.
which is a big thing for a lot of people out
Yeah.
there. Because I know whenever we were out in LA, we seen a lot of people on the street
Mhm.
performing music and stuff. And if that's the case, if like you depend on your instrument for life, for food, all of that, then like I definitely suggest taking them up on that.
For sure, for sure. I think that's an example to me of a company doing the right thing for their community and their people. Like, and instruments aren't cheap either.
Yeah, they definitely aren't cheap.
Yeah. Other things that I think companies can be doing. So, if you're listening and you think that your employer could be doing more to help out, these are things that I would just run by management. Remember, if you work at the company, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a say in what policies are or how your employer should respond to disasters. Absolutely, I would have a seat at the table and give
Yeah.
this advice. If a company has employees that have been specifically impacted by the disaster, you can do 401k plan hardship distributions, meaning that employers can amend their 401k plans to provide hardship distributions for expenses and losses, including the loss of income incurred by employees on account of a disaster declared by FEMA. So, declared by FEMA. But it allows employees to take hardship distributions for federally declared disasters without waiting for the IRS to announce applicable relief. So,
Yeah,
a way
and
to
I
get
I
the
can only
money.
imagine that that would come in handy for a lot of people. You know, you
Absolutely.
you may have not lost the whole part of your house, but maybe a portion, or you were in the area subjected to evacuations, so obviously you can't work at your office if you're evacuated from the area.
Exactly. And also, another one, if you work with people who have been affected by the fire, leave sharing. That is a great way. I remember when I worked at Booz Allen, we did that when COVID
Yeah, when
happened,
COVID
because
happened.
there were some people who were sick and needed time off or had to take care of sick family members. And this is the same thing. You have people that need to take time off to recover and or take care of family or
Yeah.
loved ones. And that also applies to providing additional paid time off. But if I was an employer and I had people in my team that were directly impacted, I would give them all the paid time off they need without them going into their personal stash. And I think that's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, that's you as an employer.
Yes.
Unfortunately, not a lot of companies out there feel the same way. A lot of them, I'm pretty sure, right after the disaster is finished, they're gonna be, all right, return right back to the office. We don't care about what you have going on.
Yes, but I do want to talk about something that I read in another article about, these workers at restaurants in particular. And there was somebody who worked at a retail store on Rodeo Drive, and they talked about how they would talk to their boss and, tell them, hey, things are getting bad. Can we go home? And their boss was in Orange County, just kicking back on the sofa
Mm,
and being like, well, if the mall is open, then we're open, until they tell us to go home. And what these workers ended up doing is they kind of formed a mutiny, I think it
cool.
yes, they all decided in at the Rodeo Drive store in particular, they said that all the workers in the store agreed to go home and close the store before a few hours before close, and they told the security guards to go home, and they just all left. And I think that this shows the power of workers coming together. We've seen it with union efforts.
Yeah,
We've seen it just time and time and time again, and we keep talking about it. Is that the biggest way we can impact change is if we all work together, and we see that having impacts in real time positively to protect workers. So, F the man,
F
protect
the man.
yourself.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're definitely better in numbers. Kudos to those employees because by all means, like I'm the type of employee that my life is never worth a job.
No, yeah.
I did that for 8 years, put my life on the line for a job, not doing it anymore.
Yeah, you've had that experience literally. You're one to talk, yeah. No, it's true, and I think the workers what we've all experienced the last few years with natural disasters and COVID and just all this inflation, cost of living, I think we've had enough, and I hope we're finally at this point where we just recognize our worth and finally stick it to them, but it's so complicated, and I know people need to pay, the bills, and sometimes that's more important than
Yeah.
that collective effort, and I get that. I
Yeah.
even struggle because I can get why scabs, do what they do, but don't be a scab.
Yeah. Quick
Try not
little
to.
little quick
Don't.
tidbit about scabs. We actually did an interview with the lady, and during the interview, we found out that she was a scab.
And she was sitting at a table with other unionized workers.
Yeah.
That was
That
interesting.
was very interesting. We'll probably tell you about that another day.
Yeah. So I think with that, I just want to stress if you are financially able, I struggle with this as well because I know we all want to help out, but I feel like it is our government's responsibility to take care of us in these situations. And time again, that doesn't seem to be what's happening. People
Yeah.
are turning to TikTok, they're turning to GoFundMe. GoFundMe is the new funder of healthcare, and we shouldn't be our own support. We should have the support of our government.
That's why we
Um,
put them there.
that's why we put them there. But if you are able to, this is how a lot of families are rebuilding. This is how a lot of families are going to bounce back. I know I've been watching social media and trying to amplify other accounts and donate where I can. There's companies like Course Studio who helped us build our website, who built our website. I believe they may have raised all the funds. I'll link it in the description below, but they were matching donations up to $3,000, which I thought was great. So we donated to that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just I struggle because I don't wanna just link certain GoFundMes when everybody deserves amplification, so I won't tell you
Correct.
to pick or choose, I won't choose certain ones. Just, you know, do what you think is right.
Yeah, and donate what you can. I mean, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it may be $1 to you, it may be $5, but to that one person, who really needs it, it means a lot to them.
The last thing we'll talk about is the day we are recording this is before the TikTok ban, but when you hear this as it is live now, the TikTok ban might be into effect. And so, if that is the case and you are tuning into us, we really appreciate you being here. And if you follow us on TikTok, this is just a quick reminder to
Yeah.
follow us on other channels. Particularly, we are on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Snapchat. We are going to be here for you. We're going to put a lot of effort into YouTube and LinkedIn and Snapchat in particular because we are a little bit upset with Meta.
Yeah.
This week would have been a great time to cover the TikTok ban, but I think
Yeah.
we did the right
Yeah,
thing
we definitely
covering
did the
what we
right thing.
did. If you have any questions about how we're protecting our business and preparing for the TikTok ban, let us know. We are
Yeah.
already into the thick of it.
We're already here.
But here to answer any questions. And of course, always grateful for all of you tuning in every
Yeah.
week.
Yeah. And if you are a creator yourself and you like listening to us and you're wondering how you can, handle the TikTok ban for yourself, definitely reach out with questions. We can help assist you with that.
Yeah, and if you are somebody living in Los Angeles who has been impacted, please reach out to us. We are donating. Like I said, we struggle to amplify any particular stories because everybody deserves it. But please reach out to us specifically, though. Our email is hello@salarytransparentstreet.com, or send us a DM or a comment. We are here for you. And next week, we'll cover our gross revenue for the year.
Yeah.
But until then, take care of yourself, be safe, people over profits, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.